I want to welcome you this morning because this is a very innovative conference. It's an exciting conference that has had a great start this morning. To introduce this panel, we will be talking today about the importance of philanthropy, about how women are coming together today in support of young women, in support of our future. And simply put, as we've been hearing, we are better together. We have an important role as an education institution in Canada to partner with our students, our faculty, our alumni, our donors, our community, our not-for-profit organizations, our health institutions, businesses, and governments to move into the restart and the recovery phases. Philanthropy, the acts of gifts, volunteerism, advocacy, play an important role in our revisioning of our society and our economy. And I am so looking forward to the discussion today with some remarkable women who have been leaders in their field, are incredibly generous, and are very forward-looking and very passionate about the role of women in STEM. I would now like to introduce our video, and then I will come back and introduce our moderator.
Happy International Women in Math Day. Thank you for taking the time to come together today. The outpouring for today's event was fantastic. Even as we all continue to face challenging times, I'm so happy to see that we can come together as a community and learn from so many amazing women. We are constantly inspired by all of you and all of the work each of you are doing. We have many problems to face in the coming weeks and months. We will need the skill, creativity, and ingenuity of all of you to face those challenges. We need new perspectives. We need new ideas. We need you and the next generation of women in math at the table. Thank you again for coming together in celebration of this wonderful day. Please stay safe and strong.
So now I'd like to introduce our moderator, Jeannie Sager, Director of the Women's Philanthropy Institute at the IU Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. Jeannie is a seasoned nonprofit executive with 25 years of experience in healthcare, higher education, and independent school leadership. She was the Director of Philanthropy with the IU Health Foundation in Indianapolis, serving the adult hospitals of the IU Health Academic Health Center. She has served as Director of Advancement at University High School in Carmel, Indiana, as Director for the IU School of Medicine Dean's Council and Special Programs, and as a Development Director with the IU Foundation in Indianapolis. Ms. Jeannie currently serves as Secretary of the Indiana University Alumni Association Board of Managers. She also serves on the Executive Committee for the IUPUI Board of Advisors, Alumni and Community Relations Liaison, and is a founding board member for Women for Change Indiana. She is a past founding board member for the Indiana Ballet Conservatory. Jeannie earned her master's degree in philanthropic studies in 2003 from Indiana University and a bachelor's degree in international relations in 1994 from Olmsted College. She resides in Carmel, Indiana with her husband and 2 teenage children. Having spent a little bit of time with her yesterday, she is an exciting and compelling speaker who is incredibly passionate about women in STEM and about the power of philanthropy and the women philanthropists that can make so many wonderful things happen. I look forward to this, and I'm excited about the views that will be exchanged. Jeannie, over to you.
Thank you so much, Joanne, and thank you so much for having us today. I'm excited to also introduce our esteemed guest and panelists today, powerful women in philanthropy who are really going to be able to provide life experience around the work that is done at the Women's Philanthropy Institute. Thank you for joining us today. Anne-Marie is a culturalpreneur, part promoter, part advisor, and a significant financial supporter of Canadian cultural institutions. Among many other organizations, she has supported the National Ballet of Canada, the Toronto International Film Festival, and the Musical Stage Company. Most recently, she became a patron to the McMichael Canadian Art Collection and a member of its advisory council working on the centenary of the Group of Seven. Ms. Canning is a gender empowerment philanthropist, giving significant support to the advancement of women through the Canadian Women's Foundation, the TIFF Share Her Journey Fund, and the Emmy Nether Society at the Perimeter Institute for Theoretical Physics. She is also well recognized for supporting research and breakthrough advances in science with the University Health Network, Canada's largest health and medical research organization. Ms. Canning lives in Toronto, where she is respected as a modern, conscious philanthropist and a true Canadian nationalist. She is unwavering in her commitment to innovation, culture, diversity of thought, and application of the best in technological advances. Thank you, Anne-Marie, for joining us. I know everyone's looking forward to hearing more about your philanthropic autobiography. And then we also have Julie Lassonde, Director at GMP Capital and President and CEO of Lassonde Capital. Julie Lassonde has over 20 years in the mining industry in senior executive and corporate board roles. She is currently on the board of GMP Capital Incorporated. She is a Toronto-based investment dealer and asset manager with over $28 billion in assets under management. Ms. Lassonde has an extensive philanthropic background. She currently serves as president of the Canadian Engineering Memorial Foundation, is on the boards of the Royal Ontario Museum, the National Gallery of Canada Foundation, York University, and the Pierre Lassonde Family Foundation. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Queen's University and an Executive MBA from Brown University and IE Business School in Spain. We also thank you, Julie, for joining us.
Thanks so much, Jeannie.
We also have Joyce Sinclair, who has her Bachelor's of Math from a degree in combinatorics and optimization. My apologies, Joyce. Joyce used her math degree from the University of Waterloo to open doors to a career in business system information technology. This began with life insurance and trust company work. She did the bookkeeping and payroll administration for the startup JDS Optics, which eventually became JDS Uniphase, where many of the early fiber optic devices that help with internet traffic were invented. As the company grew, her role moved to IT, and the business systems needed to support a high-growth company. Throughout her life, helping others has been a strong motivator to volunteer. Organizations like the Snow Soup Fund in Ottawa, the Canadian Toy Testing Council, and most recently as executive with the Ladies Curling Association that organizes curling events for women in Eastern Ontario and Montreal, including the Eastern Townships. She's an avid curler, golfer, and downhill skier. Since 2001, many graduate students have benefited from the Sinclair Graduate Scholarship for Combinatorics and Optimization at UW. Her family is a major sponsor of the Sinclair Regenerative Center Research Center at the Ottawa Hospital Research Institute, where many clinical trials are underway to determine appropriate stem cell therapies for sepsis, pulmonary hypertension, lung function improvements for preemies that have been on respirators, heart function improvements following a major heart attack, as well as others. Thank you, Joyce, so much for joining us today.
Thanks for including me.
And our final panelist for today is Sherry Shannon Vanstone, CEO and founder of Profound Impact. Sherry did not grow up in the world of possible, at least not what's deemed possible for a little girl in the late 60s and early 70s. But possible is the realm she chose to create for her adult life and business pursuits, thanks to her love of and proficiency in mathematics. Mathematician, entrepreneur, inventor, philanthropist, mentor, and corporate board member are a few of the words used to describe the accomplishments of this trailblazer. Ms. Shannon Vanstone has been involved in 3 very successful startup ventures: Scilink, Certicom, and TrustPoint Innovation. Plus, she was a partner in the development of the information security system that still serves as the market distinction for BlackBerry RIM. Ms. Shannon Vanstone launched a new company called Profound Impact in 2018. Profound Impact is more than the name of her new enterprise. It's also her brand promise. The other words integral to how she lives her life are compassionate, authentic, and trustworthy. We're so pleased to have you join us today, Sherry. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So happy International Women's Day. It is such an honor and a privilege to be with you and our panelists today. My name is Jeannie Sager, and I am the director of the Women's Philanthropy Institute. WPI is the only research institute in the world dedicated solely to the study of gender and philanthropy. We are located at the Indiana University Lilly Family School of Philanthropy. And our mission at WPI is to conduct, curate, and disseminate research that grows women's philanthropy. So we are here today to celebrate women who are changing the world through philanthropy. And I know all of the panelists seek to inspire all of you to harness your own power to do good. So often the word philanthropy is associated only with the act of giving money. We want to challenge each of you to expand your definition of doing good beyond just monetary gifts and look at the importance of time, talent, testimony, and I would add ties as we explore women in philanthropy. And at WPI, we believe that to solve challenges large and small, our world needs more strategic philanthropy. Women can lead this charge for more strategic philanthropy, harnessing their growing wealth and influence to create a more just, equitable, and healthy society. By most measures, today's demographic changes benefit women. You know this, and you see it every day. More and more women have increased access to education, income, and wealth. And these are the key predictors of philanthropy. At the same time, more women are the primary breadwinner in their families, more women are financially independent, and making big decisions on their own. Some reports suggest that 90% of women are the chief financial officer of their households. These factors are central to women's expanding role in philanthropy. Women's wealth is rising. One group estimated that between 2010 and 2015, private wealth held by women grew from $34 trillion to $51 trillion. And today, women hold about 40% of global wealth. Women are also more likely to give. And our research at WPI shows that women's growing wealth is good news for the philanthropic sector. Across all ages and income levels, women give more and give differently than their male counterparts. Not only that, but we found that the more women's wealth grows, the more they will give to charitable organizations. How women think about wealth differs too. According to a US Trust study, women are nearly twice as likely as men to say that giving to charity is the most satisfying aspect of having wealth. And in order to lock the full potential of women's philanthropy, we must understand how gender shapes giving behavior. To build a powerful and diverse force of female philanthropists, we need to know more about what drives women to give. The Women's Philanthropy Institute exists for that reason, to conduct, curate, and disseminate rigorous research that grows women's philanthropy. WPI's focus is on research about gender and philanthropy. And this field of study is reasonably new. WPI released its first study in 2010, and few studies before that considered gender as a factor in its work. Since 2010, though, we have built an amazing reservoir of findings that point to one incontrovertible fact: gender matters in philanthropy. It seems intuitive, doesn't it? After all, men and women are different in so many ways. If we just look at the field of fundraising, it was created at a time when men, predominantly white men, were presumed to be the primary donor. That is no longer true. Donors are men and women. They are all ages, races, ethnicities, sexual orientations, religions and no religion, local and across the globe. Fundraising strategies must adapt to the changing environment and understand that women and men have different motivations for giving and different patterns of giving. One is not better than the other. They are simply different. And as you will hear from our panelists, women are driving philanthropy today in bold ways. At the grassroots level, in corporate boardrooms, individual philanthropists, in giving circles, and as leaders in nonprofits. The best is yet to come as more women step fully into their philanthropic power and bring others alongside them. Our research spans a range of topics, from retirement to giving circles to impact investing to the transmission of generosity. Across these topics, we apply a gender lens to better understand where, how, and why women and men give differently. Our entire body of research can be found online at our website, and I encourage you to explore and engage in our work. So let's explore together some of our broad research themes and address who, how, why, where, and what. And then we will get to the most important part of today's session, our conversation with this impressive panel of female philanthropists. Their stories will bring this research to life, as you will hear these research themes through their experiences. But first, the research. So who is philanthropic and how do demographic factors affect giving by women and men? When we look at how factors such as age, family dynamics, marital status, and income influence giving by men and women, the bottom line is this. Women, all women, across racial and ethnic groups and generations are more likely than their male counterparts to give. And the data about single women is compelling. For example, across race, ethnicity, and income levels, single women are more likely to give than single men. When looking across generations, Gen X and millennial single women are holding their own in terms of giving compared to pre-boomer women from 40 years ago. Yet when we look at single men and married couples across these generations, we find that this younger generation's giving is lower than the giving of their pre-boomer counterparts from 40 years ago, but not for single women. Giving trends seem to hold true across the life cycle. Around retirement, we found that single women and married couples are more likely to give and give more than single men. They also volunteer more than single men. Marriage affects giving in positive ways. We know that being married increases both the likelihood and the amount of giving. So marriage is good for charitable giving. Married and cohabitating couples tend to give more to charity than single men or single women. How do women, men, and give? Which platforms and approaches do they use when it comes to their philanthropy? Women like to give together or collectively. With the exponential growth of giving circles over the past 10 years, women continue to comprise the majority of collective giving network members. About 70% of all giving circles report that women make up more than half their membership. Waterloo Women's Impact Network is an example of this collective giving movement. And giving circles are a force to be reckoned with in philanthropy. Last year, we released a new study on giving circles, the first landscape scan in 10 years. The study found that the number of giving circles in the US tripled in 10 years from 2007 to 2017. They have allocated almost $1.3 billion to local communities over the past 35 years. Women are still a majority of the giving circle members, but there is a growth in the diversity of the ecosystem with LGBT, men only, Jewish, African American, Asian American, and Latinx groups forming every day. The growth of the Giving Circle movement has provided countless opportunities for women in philanthropy. Women have stepped fully into leadership roles, learned about their communities, and engaged deeply with nonprofits and, in some cases, influenced public policy. Research has shown that donors involved in giving circles and other collective giving models give more strategically, and are more knowledgeable about problems in their community and are highly engaged in their community. The most recent report in our signature Women Give series explores the question of how women give by looking at the intersection of gender and technology. We found that women leverage technology for their giving. Our study about giving behavior on Giving Tuesday found that women are more likely than men to give on special designated giving days. While giving goes up sharply for men and women on Giving Tuesday, and women and men give approximately equal amounts on that day, women's greater participation means a greater total amount of giving by women. Additionally, our Women Give 2020 report found that not only do women give more online than men, they give smaller gifts to smaller organizations and give more money to women's and girls' causes. Women are drawn to an expanded definition of philanthropy. They seek platforms that allow them to give according to their preferences, and they are open to building community online. Now let's move to why. Why do men and women give, and how do these motivations influence their giving? Empathy motivates women's giving. For men, giving is often more about self-interest. This is a matter of degree and priority. It is not that men are not empathetic. Because women are socialized into more helping, nurturing, and caring roles from an early age, these behaviors become ingrained and become the basis for many of their actions, including philanthropy. Empathy also drives women's deep engagement with nonprofits. Research has shown that women are more likely to give to organizations where they have a personal connection or an alignment with political or philosophical beliefs. Single women are more likely than single men to cite being on a board or volunteering for an organization as motivations for their giving. In general, women are less motivated than men by tax advantages and public recognition. They are highly motivated by connections to and volunteering for the causes they care about. So the gifts of time, talent, testimony, and ties are very important to a woman's gift of treasure. And where? So where do women and men give, and how do certain factors affect the causes they support? So I want to talk about causes broadly first. Outside of women and girls' causes, women tend to give more often and higher amounts to religion and to organizations that support youth and family. When women give collectively, they also tend to focus on women and girls and education. But the commonality that we find is that women tend to support causes they connect with personally, that they have experience or can touch and see. Women are more likely to give to women and girls, but men still give. They tend to be motivated to give by the women in their lives or having a woman with a significant cause that is important to them. And given that it is International Women's Math Day, and we are all gathered here to get together thanks to the Waterloo Women's Impact Network, giving to women's and girls' causes is probably of interest to many of you in the audience. And so if you care about women's and girls' causes, it is important to increase support because rising levels of giving matters. When men perceive that other men and women are donating to these causes, they are more likely to donate. So people are paying attention and following each other's examples. And the final bit of research I want to share with you is the so what, the outcomes. What difference does giving make? Simply this, giving makes us all happier. It is satisfying. Across the board, the more a household gives as a percentage of income, the higher the household's life satisfaction. But single men see the greatest increase in life satisfaction when they become donors. Single and married women see a greater boost in life satisfaction when they increase their giving as a percentage of their income. So the research is powerful. One, it allows individuals to connect their personal experiences to the broader philanthropic landscape. Two, it provides empirical data to help change assumptions, attitudes, and behaviors around perceptions of who is philanthropic. Three, it can be a tool to help women donors advocate for the kind of engagement they wish to have with the nonprofits they support. Perhaps to open up more opportunities for board service and leadership, or special events designed for them. And four, it can be a sounding board, a wake-up call, and a valuable resource to carry forward on your own philanthropic journey. Tangible, credible, empirical evidence of the vital role women play in philanthropy. So philanthropy is growing, knowledge about giving and how to give back is growing, awareness of the importance of women and girls and those causes is growing. And the demographics are shifting dramatically, and philanthropy is becoming ever more elastic. 15 years ago, researchers were just beginning to consider gender as a factor in charitable giving. Now we have far more data points than we can share with you in just 15 minutes. So I encourage you to visit our website to learn more. Women's philanthropy, long the backbone of civic engagement, continues to evolve. Today, women contribute their time, talent, treasure, and testimony in innovative, creative, and trailblazing ways. And more women among us are thinking about philanthropy and harnessing this power to do good. So let's turn now to a conversation and hear more from the stellar women we have convened for this panel who are doing just that. I'd like to start with you, Joyce.
Okay.
Why is volunteering so vital for our communities and society?
Well, I think volunteering is very vital for communities and society because it's got a tremendous economic benefit, the number of hours that people put in, and people get a tremendous sense of community. It helps you belong, and it provides many services and events that we would otherwise not have, and it impacts the lives of other people. We've all watched recently the COVID-19 activities and community assistance projects that have been provided in the past few weeks, and helping neighbors, friends, family in some capacity. And the same thing happens during other major disasters like floods, cleanup work around ice storms, branch clearing, generator assistance, or many people really want to make a difference in the lives of other people, animals, orphaned, stray, organizations which impact the community and their own lives directly. And then there's huge numbers of examples. And the one volunteer job that I'm not sure that everybody really appreciates is the teachers in the high schools that coach teams, help with clubs, all kinds of clubs, the junior achievement clubs and breakfast clubs and all those things. And when we talk about high school life, we all talk about the chance we had to be on one of those teams or in one of those clubs, and it's what made us go to high school. And then there's the guides, brownies, 4-H clubs. There's the supports for other aspects of our society, like the AA counseling, new immigrants, helping them with ESL and assimilating into being in Canada, teaching the women how free they can live in Canada, and helping them and their children join society, and it goes on. And then there's fundraising events, and it goes on and on and on.
Joyce, thank you so much. I think it's clear that being able to give a gift of time allows an individual and a philanthropist to experience a variety of opportunities within their passion area, and you shared that very well. Thank you so much, Joyce. Sherry, to you next, and it's a question about talent. You serve on boards of directors and advisory boards for several private and public companies and associations. Why do you feel it is important to ensure that women have voices at these very important tables?
Well, several of these boards that I serve on have an intersection of high tech and automotive. This intersection is in particular of interest to me. I've been a sports car lover since I was in my 20s. And of course, with my background in high tech, individually, both are extremely interesting to me. Now, I find that serving on these boards, often I am the only woman. And being at the table pushes me to find my unique voice and make it clear and impactful. So it's very important for me to provide my opinion and my diverse perspective. I love the saying from Eleanor Roosevelt, do one thing every day that scares you. And I interpret this as meaning do one thing every day that pushes you out of your comfort level.
On to you, Anne-Marie. There are endless good causes and issues to support. Anne-Marie, what is your decision-making process for your own philanthropic investments, and how did you choose these for yourself?
Well, thank you for inviting me. my philanthropy is very strategic. It starts from a level of, I have true patriot love for this country, Canada. And generally, I want to choose things to support that I feel really strengthen this country and my community. So I have chosen spheres, kind of boxes, if you will. A civic box, an arts box, a health box. And within those categories, I'm choosing programs that have an opportunity to elevate and empower women. One other thing is that I'm also choosing organizations to which I can make a long-term commitment to. Mm-hmm. Because all charities rely on security and a sense of sustainability.
Julie, what would you say to a young woman wondering about the power or potential of her own advocacy and why it is important?
So I think that's a really challenging question, especially when you think of yourself, as I did when I was in engineering in my late teens and early 20s. You know, what are the kind of things that I could do that would change? And you think that just one person, it's almost impossible to change anything, but it starts with one person. And I learned from my mother when she founded the Canadian Engineering Memorial Foundation after the horrible massacre, December 6, 1989 in Montreal at L'École Polytechnique, that her intention was always that the foundation would have scholarships that support women, but also eventually the intention was that it would support men who support women. I found when I was in engineering was that if I got the guys that I knew involved and helped me, that it tended to go further, that we were more powerful when we included our male counterparts, and showing them the importance of having women at their side and vice versa. I found it incredibly useful and impactful. So I think that if there's anything I would say to a young woman who is an advocate for herself today, I would say, you know, make sure your friends are on side and get them on side, and then get your male friends on side, because it really makes a difference.
I want to go back to Joyce and explore a little bit more about volunteering and maybe get a little bit personal. Share with our audience today, Joyce, what are some of the personal benefits that you receive from volunteering?
Tremendous sense of self-worth, some confidence building, and you volunteer for a cause that you feel is really important to you. It'll either directly benefit you or your friends or somebody you know in some aspect. And you'll also meet many new people that are outside of your usual circle, and it broadens your life quite a bit. I found, especially when I was working on the Toy Testing Council, I met people from lots of different parts of the city that I didn't know existed. I learned how many people volunteer and spend lots of their time on their own passionate causes. And you learn new skills. If you help with a Habitat for Humanity build, you can build, which usually you don't get to do. And your coaching skills are tremendously important for learning. They're very transferable to a manager. And it's fun, is what I find. Tremendously helpful in my life.
It's a great way to wrap it up. It's fun. Volunteering is fun. We can put that in a quick soundbite. Joyce, thank you so much for that. Sherry, back to you. You have brought together women to collectively support issues facing female academics, as well as women working in STEM fields. Why do you feel that building these coalitions are important and add value for women?
I've never heard the term coalition used to describe these initiatives. So I checked the definition and found the noun coalition comes from the Latin word coalitio. I might have said that with a little bit of a Spanish accent, meaning to grow together. Often people and groups that form coalition, they have different backgrounds, but they come together to share a specific goal, to grow together, says it all. And I believe this is the value add that we have. And I like the comment about including the males in this conversation and in these coalitions. See, growing together to accomplish a shared value, I believe, is the value add. And you mentioned it in a different way, but Annette Verschuren says in her book, Bet on Me, alone you can go faster, but together we can go farther.
A recurring theme. Thanks, Sherry. Anne-Marie, back to you. So you mentioned this in your earlier answer with regards to your strategic investment in organizations and nonprofits. So I want to dig a little deeper into that. What kind of ongoing relationship do you expect to have with the organizations that you support? And what would you tell other women about being clear and upfront with their expectations?
Well, your word investment is a good one because I treat it like an investment. I'm going to look at organizations that it's like looking at the management. Is it a sound management? If you're going to put your money, your time, your sweat equity, invite all your friends to the table, you want to feel that that organization is going to be respectful and be responsible of everything that you're doing as well. I'm going to look at their track record. I'm going to look at their outcomes. And even if it's a project that's seed funding, that's just getting going, I want to know there's some track record behind them, because seed funding is of particular importance to me, to step up when nobody else has, to get something going. But in return, I expect them to keep me informed, to keep me in the loop, to let me know what they're doing, to keep me on side, to involve me, engage me. And I expect them to ask me to do things. And if I can't, I'll say so, but if I can, I'll do it. But I expect to partner with them because I'm going to be with them for a while. I want to get to know them, and I want to see them grow. I want to grow along with them.
Anne-Marie, I think your experience is so reflective of what we're finding in the research, and as well as all of our panelists. It's that women bring their whole selves into their giving, and kind of back to that, the purpose of us coming together today is to really understanding that it's more than just gifts, monetary gifts, that there's more to it. And in particularly, it's much more important for women when they invest. So Anne-Marie, thank you so much for truly bringing our research to life. I'm loving your responses. Julie, back to you, and wanting to talk a little bit about the power of testimony. What are the ways that organizations can better support women who step forward as advocates?
So I think I'm going to draw a thread through here and keep going from what Anne-Marie said. So there was a piece of research that I read, Dr. Das Gupta at UMass Amherst. And she did a study on women in engineering between 2011 and 2015, 150 students. And she basically partnered seniors with juniors, juniors with sophomores, and sophomores with freshmen. What she found was the number of young women who graduated in engineering increased significantly because they stayed in engineering because they had a mentor that they understood, because it was a woman. And I would say I bring that back to my own personal experience in philanthropy, in that for me, of course, giving money is very fulfilling, but actually being a mentor to young women in engineering has been massively far more fulfilling in so many ways. And it takes a lot more time and effort. But these young women that I have mentored over the years, and seeing them grow, and being there to support them and advising them. And I'm just honestly giving back what I got throughout my lifetime. I've had so many men and women support me and give me great advice. And so what I would say if I was giving advice to organizations is help the young women who are advocates get the kind of support they need. Pair them with older women and get them to understand how important it is to maintain those relationships with their mentors, because they can last a lifetime and provide so much more than just support on a particular advocacy point.
Julie, thank you. You know, one of the things that is so important about our work at the Women's Philanthropy Institute is wanting women and young girls to see themselves, and it's exactly why the International Women's Math Day exists. It's why WWIN exists. It's the more that girls and women see women expressing themselves and their power through philanthropy, through making this the gifts of their whole selves, the more comfortable that they'll feel. And so you're mentoring not only as an engineer and as a professional, but also mentoring and role modeling what it means to be a philanthropist, and in all its different variations is so important. And I hope that that women will become more and more likely to begin their introduction the way Anne-Marie did when we met yesterday, with the statement, "I am a philanthropist." So thank you for that. Advocacy and supporting each other is so important. Joyce, at a time when some alumni and students may be looking to make shifts in their careers, can you talk a little bit and share about how can volunteering aid in this season of life?
I think that when you want to shift a career, I think Julie probably just covered it. It's the mentoring is so important, and you choose what kind of a person you want to be, and you can choose the organization you want to help out, either with money or time or whatever, and it is how you grow, and it'll always be the people you meet at these organizations, and how you can work together, and what their life experiences are, and you can learn from them. And you can join an organization probably in a capacity that gives you a chance to practice some new skills that you haven't had a chance to use in your work life, or some other thing, such as teaching ESL for immigrants. I happen to have a friend that does that and has found it tremendously rewarding. And you develop leadership skills and team building skills, and you learn the value of other people's contributions and how you can use those in other aspects of your life. But just to be able to use what you learn in or be part of a volunteer group to be able to change a career is not really why you're there. You're there because it's for you.
Yeah.
And that's the most important part.
Joyce, that's wonderful, and it's similar to what I share with young mentees that I've coached throughout my career. You know, sometimes work gets hard, and you will struggle with questions of purpose and whether or not where you are at this time is the right place. And so I've always encouraged mentees at that time to find volunteer opportunities, to find places, you know, organizations where you can serve on the board, because it's a real outlet for where you can bring your authentic self when sometimes your workplace might not be welcoming at that time. And so it's really important for who you are as a human to find that outlet. So I find volunteering for, especially when you're in the middle of a career and you're working hard, sometimes it's even more important to find that outlet. So thank you for that, Joyce. Anne-Marie, you're not off the hook yet. I have another question for you. What is the best demonstration of impact for your investments that you have seen to date? Can you give us an example of sort of real life on the ground example of where you've seen and the impact of your investments, and share it with us?
Golly, I've actually had many exciting ones. A big one, of course, would be the TIFF, which has moved to be the biggest film festival in the world and brings in over $200 million into this city every year when it's operating. But a smaller, more intimate one would be the Canadian Musical Stage Company, asked to underwrite a young composer just getting going in her career. It was a seed funding program to develop a musical theater piece. A 3-year commitment. She did so, went on to win 7 Doras, has been picked up by the most important regional theater companies in the US, and is, in my mind, no doubt, heading to Broadway. It has been an absolutely thrilling experience to watch Britta Johnson and her production Life After take off. It's been extraordinary.
And Sherry, last question to you. Your latest initiative, Profound Impact, takes your collective building to a global level. What do you hope that women and men joining the digital community will gain from their participation and involvement?
Well, first and foremost, I believe to grow together. We can build a community that allows and encourages the discovery of the intersection between alumni and researchers, and using their impact stories to lead in solving problems. You know, in particular, which hopefully this is our differentiator, or at least one of them, is the dynamic and inspiring visual demonstrations of the individual and collective impact that each alumnus and faculty members have made and continue to make across numerous industries worldwide. And my favorite, as this was one of the original impetus of driving forces for Profound Impact, was to provide an academic ancestry of impact for alumni, faculty members, and researchers. What I mean by that is my late husband, Scott Vanstone, was a professor at University of Waterloo, a math professor, for 35 years. And to look at his academic children, women and men, and where they are at and how they are now continuing to have impact, it's an inspiring story.
Well, speaking of inspiring stories, Sherry, I'd like to say that Joyce, Julie, Anne-Marie, all of you have inspiring stories, and all of you have inspired our audience today to really think about what they can do to, as you said, do one thing every day that might push you out of your comfort level. And what I hope all of the people in our audience today are thinking about is, what can you do every day to push you into doing good and thinking about yourself and claiming your title as a philanthropist? I want to mention again the importance of celebrating International Women Mathematics Day and bringing women together, which has been a theme in our conversation with Sherry, Joyce, Anne Marie, and Julie, bringing women together to create sustainable and impactful change. And I invite everyone to keep the conversation going in the new Waterloo Math digital community or on the Women in Math Facebook. And remember, you can help dispel stereotypes for young women in STEM by adding your voice to the digital conversation and using the hashtag #IamGoodAtMath. And I just want to say that the work at the Women's Philanthropy Institute is all available online at our website. Every research report that we have produced is online and available for free to use as a resource, along with some very user-friendly infographics that really take the research and make them into bite-sized, usable pieces, because really research alone does not change behavior. It takes all of us together to put research into action.